Hi there, and welcome back to the History of Fleetwood Mac. I'm Anita. Today we're going to get into part 3 of my magazines. I had quite a few and started trying as best as I could with 70s through the 80s, and that actually went really quickly. I was actually really surprised how little I had of magazines from the 80s and actually even into the 90s. Um, I certainly thought I had more. I think there's some Rolling Stone, there's some larger magazines around and stuff, but I guess maybe the bulk of what I had was definitely cut up into my binders that I'd shown or into the scrapbook. But I definitely got a lot of magazines considering I don't have that much from the 70s and 80s. But anyway, starting off with what I do still have from 1989, we stopped at 87, I think, with Tango and the Night era. So we're going to go into Stevie's Other Side of the Mirror era. Even though this is 1989, this is an article with Christine and Stevie. There's no unique photos inside, nothing really different, but nice little, I love the cover alone. So that's really nice. So this is from January of 1989. Right after that, we have Record Mirror, which came out in, let's see here, May of 1989. Stevie on the cover with BC Boys, which is funny because I have another one from 89. So apparently it was Stevie Nicks and the Beastie Boys that were doing really well at that time. And this is the Stevie entry. It's a shame it has to have that split down the center like this for that picture, but this is the entire article in the magazine. Kind of neat. There's also a review of the, I think it's this one, or maybe it's this one. Sorry. There's also not only just an article with Stevie and Christine, but the review for the greatest hits in this magazine as well. The Fleetwood Mac greatest hits. Next up, we have a really unique item I had never seen before and recently acquired. This was a magazine that, come to find out, is put out by Salem Cigarettes in the 80s. And I've seen next to nothing about it before. It is issue number 2, so there's only one other issue, I guess. I don't know if there's anybody who are Blondie fans, but that was a really cool picture of Debbie in there. I thought, anyway, I'm also a big fan of hers. But the Stevie article was fantastic here, so let's find that here. Really cool article. Great photo. So yeah, this one I'd never seen. It's certainly never heard of a magazine put out by Salem Cigarettes. There's not even a price on here, so I don't know if it was a freebie or if it was something you sent in for, or I have no idea. But the refreshest new music, that's what it says on the cover. So really a cool find. Next up, showing that we have the Beastie Boys again with Stevie Nicks. So Beastie Boys on the cover, but Stevie Nicks mentioned here. Now this one was a magazine I just got that maybe I would normally tear up because she's not on the cover per se, but probably just because of the uniqueness of the magazine will I not tear it up. But this is the article inside here. Starting here. What I really like about this article, this is by Sylvie Simmons, who I believe had done a couple things on Stevie. But in addition to the photos, there's all these little Alice in Wonderland, little cartoon type things in here, which, keeping with the theme, which is really funny because I had just recently done a page. I think I had shown it in a video where I had used a lot of Alice in Wonderland themes for some of the pages I put together for my scrapbook. So the article continues a little bit longer, but there's no other photos, but that was really a unique one. I also don't remember, well, I do remember this magazine, but it seemed to me like it was definitely, well, I remember a magazine called Revolution. I'm going to guess it's the same one, but it seemed to me pretty big in the mid to late 90s. So obviously it must have gotten its start at or around 89, but certainly became a bigger, more prominent magazine, more on the kind of harder rock edge, I want to say, or maybe kind of like alternative rock, kind of a combo of both. Anyway, moving on into 1990, this was Fleetwood Mac on the cover of Song Hits. I believe they used the same picture on the inside. Probably some lyrics translated in there. That was a cool little find. And then I had shown a magazine in the last video, Rock Express, that was a freebie from Musicland. And then this was the free magazine from Tower Records called Pulse. I used to have a ton of these. The other really cool thing is that there's a Susie and the Banshees have a side project called The Creatures. And inside here also, I torn up several copies because there's a large full-page ad for one of their albums. And I just remember tearing it apart, not only just for the Fleetwood Mac stuff, but for that as well. I'm so glad I have a copy. I was looking for an issue of BAM, which again I mentioned in the other video. BAM was a Bay Area music magazine. Came out in like San Francisco, and you could find it like up and down the peninsula of the Bay Area. And finding their older issues, Stevie and Fleetwood Mac were on the cover separately as, solo and as a band, and they're kind of hard to come by. But one came out around 1997 with the dance lineup and cover picture, and I must have picked up 40, 50 copies of that magazine. And I've given them away, I've sold them, I've traded them, I've cut them up, I've done all sorts of things. Well, now I cannot find one copy that's intact right now. I'm sure I have one, but it would be so funny if I have to go back and find one now that is fully intact, because I don't have any left. So that's kind of funny. But then I have this magazine here from 1990 as well, with Mick on the cover. And there's actually a pretty good lengthy article on him, but I thought this was kind of interesting if there are any drummers out there or just people interested in the musicianship or the instrument stuff of Mick's. And then this was for Asante, who was on tour with them in '87. His setups here. And then it also goes on to talk about the Atari. I said it, Atari, okay? Because, they're a brand of electronics, but of course, when I think Atari, I think only video game. But anyway, there was the Atari MIDI translator that Mick had used on the tour, and I think also had something to do with the vest, if I'm not mistaken. So it goes into that. So that was kind of a cool whole magazine. Talks mostly about his technique and drumming and stuff like that, but of course talks about the band and stuff. And funny enough, inside of that package were tickets I had gotten to see Sound City. So that was kind of funny, in Portland in 2013. So that must have been when I got the magazine, because those were stuck in the paperwork with them. So that was kind of funny. Next, we have a unique, and this is really sad for me. This is the only thing I think that I have, looking at it, from 1994 with Stevie on the cover. Can anybody else tell me if anything else that she was on the cover for around Street Angel? I know that I have, a good amount of articles. I want to say that maybe she was on the cover. You know what? In fact, trying to think of another larger, there's some magazines I have like this one here. Hopefully don't hit my camera. There are large magazines I have sitting around like this one. This is really, this is the average magazine size here. But like maybe it was the Arizona Woman or something like that where she's on the cover. Like now I'm thinking to myself, it seems like I have that, but I don't know where that is. But I also think that would have been 1989. But yeah, this one, let's just see if there's any pictures of her on the inside. They're newish. I don't remember. But yeah, there's a good amount of stuff came out about her in 1994, but I can't recollect her being on the cover of too many magazines in 1994. This actually being one of about the only ones that I can think of. Yeah, pretty standard fare. Gotta love it. Once they have a picture, they just run with it. It's pretty thankful we have this one on the cover because that's a very unique photo. There are some of them out from the session, but not too many. But, otherwise, like I said, they take a photo and it's just over and over and over again. That's funny. It goes on to say that she's on the next page. Oh, my bad. So yeah, it seems like this one, and like I said, it's Modern Woman or Arizona, something like that. That maybe she's on the cover for 94, but I think I'm right about the names possibly, but I'm not sure about the dates. I think they might be 1989, not 94. And now I'm wondering where the ones that I think I might have. I could have possibly cut those up. The only reason I might have done that is if they weren't in great shape. So, moving on, because this video is kind of short. Otherwise, I have some stuff we'll go to 97 in this Rolling Stone issue. Inside, pretty standard stuff, but love, love, love this cover shot. I would really like to get a proof sheet or something more, just a few more of these shots. See more, and then there's some other ones. There's one where Stevie's wearing this red outfit and Mick is wearing like a caftan kind of thing with the arrow. She's got the apple on her head. If anybody knows what I'm talking about, that's a really cool photo. Can't even think of what magazine that might be in. There was actually a magazine where that was a prominent photo, and I can't remember what it was, but I didn't get it. But that's one I would like to have. But that's from this session, I believe. Also, obviously, just like I'd shown you from 97. And I think that I want to say that that's just later. Oh, but this is from 1992. This is a cool one. This is a record collector one. Interview with Mick and Christine. But in here, I know that there's like I think in both of these, maybe all three of these. This is Goldmine. Yeah, and this is Goldmine too. This is a magazine that shows a lot of like their discographies and such. So good magazines to have, but definitely more digest, if you will, newspaper size almost. I also have this one from, there's a couple here. I don't think this was from 1998. This is a Grammy magazine. Fleetwood Mac is through here a lot, I want to say. There's a lot of separate stuff. I don't think there's anything, oh, there's something particular on them. But if you have this is a cool magazine to have because they're throughout it a lot. Like there's a random picture of Stevie right there. So even though there's an article about them, more importantly, they're throughout the entire magazine quite a bit. So this is kind of a cool one to have. And this is like a special magazine that came out for the Grammys, for the anniversary of the Grammys and such. And then, being as Fleetwood Mac was, 20 years after Rumors. So it was kind of a big deal to have them back together. The dance, we all know the story. So, but they're just, several pages, just lots of different little photographs. You'd have to, I'd have to spend some time going through it, but it's one that would be a cool one to have. Also because of the whole Grammy anniversary thing. Let's see if I'm jumping ahead. I think this one came out, as we all know, and most of us know. I remember what year this came out. I want to say 97, 98, but of course, with these fashion magazines, you have to go like 50 pages in until you get to the contents. And you can't even get to it's this issue. I don't know if this was 97 or 98. This was this is kind of a bittersweet issue. If you were alive or cared about Princess Diana passing away, it was kind of a difficult thing to comprehend when it happened. So it was great. I would never tear up this magazine, mostly because she's on the cover as well. But the pictures of Stevie in here, it was just a bonus, a phenomenal, one of the finest photo shoots and articles on Stevie ever in a magazine. Everybody was, I just remember all my friends and collectors just completely losing their what over these photos of Stevie. Guess the Buckingham Nicks cover really didn't bother her that much all these years later to have it up in her home like that. I think that's it for photos. So yeah, that was 97 or 98. Then this magazine came out in 2001, and it was kind of like one I've shown you earlier that was kind of an homage to Ladies in Rock, although that was a book. I know there have been a couple issues like this. And the Stevie page, I think I just went right past it. Again, another magazine that's really cool. It's just if you like several, different female singers, there's just lots of people in there that, it was nice that they included Christine and Stevie in a page. But there's Alanis Morissette, there's Shirley Manson, the Go-Go's, Sheryl Crow, Loaded. And I think there's also a couple other pictures of Stevie in here, just kind of random shots. And of course, they include Susie as well. So yeah, I think that's always a winner for me when they include her as well. Yeah, which was another great photo of her. So really cool find. And then rounding that out, this is a little piece that came with the Rolling Stone, one of the 1997 issues. It was just a little supplement that came, and without opening it up, I don't think there's a full page. Is there? This one? But obviously, it's all the covers from Rolling Stone up until that time. So it showed all the prior Fleetwood Mac covers. Yeah, I don't think there is one. There is another supplement similar to this in the past that shows the full, the one where they're all in the bed together. It has the full page of that one. This is not that supplement, but pretty sure. Yeah, no. But it is kind of cool to have all the covers in here, so you can see Fleetwood Mac there. I think that's right there. But yeah, so they're just kind of all throughout here anytime they've been on the cover. So again, just a little supplement piece. Came separately. So I have that. So I think I'll end it here on that one right now before I get into, well, I'm kind of into the 2000s already, but we'll start up again with a separate video on that. So hope you enjoyed this one. Let me know. There has to be more from certainly 89, but also 1994. Like I said, I'm just really curious if there was more stuff about Stevie from Street Angel, where she's on the cover of stuff. So let me know in the comments if you have anything separate than I do. Thanks so much for joining me. Have a great night. We'll see you next time. Bye.